Epstein survivors are demanding a full takedown of the files released by the DOJ. I mean, this is curious. Coming from victims, I understand maybe there's a level of we don't want our faces out there. I get that. I understand that. You don't want your names out there. I want to hear what exactly ABC News is getting at here, and then I'm going to go ahead and get into the rapid amounts of information that I found about this stuff. We'll get into it. It's the meat and potatoes, but savor that for right now. We're going to get into the aperitif. This is the drink before the appetizer.
We move on to the other news this Monday night, to the Jeffrey Epstein files and the outrage growing at this hour after the DOJ accidentally revealed the names of nearly 100 survivors. The New York Times also reporting that dozens of images of young nude women were also released by the DOJ. What the survivors are demanding tonight, and here's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, fresh anguish for nearly 100 victims of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein after the Justice Department accidentally released their names and reportedly some of their images as well. Today, attorneys for victims demanding that all 3 million pages made public last week be taken down.
No.
The judge,
Sorry, it's all too important. It's all too, this case is bigger. I know this is going to sound cruel. This case is bigger than any one individual's hurt. This case is larger. It's about what it matters on a societal level, and a lot of people don't get that. A lot of people think that it's just one creep who abused a bunch of girls. No, this is bigger than that. And a lot of people don't see the layers, and we're going to get into the layers, but whatever.
Our matters. The harm is ongoing and irreversible. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche has acknowledged mistakes were made.
Every time we hear from a victim or their lawyer that they believe that their name was not properly redacted, we immediately rectify that.
But previously anonymous victims say that's not enough. I have never come forward, wrote one woman, identified as Jane Doe. This is devastating to my life. Please, I'm begging you to delete my name. Tonight, fellow survivors like Danny Binsky speaking out.
For survivors who have never, ever come forward, this is heartbreaking.
And the New York Times reporting that DOJ published dozens of nude images of young women or possibly teenagers before taking them down when they were alerted. The latest DOJ release, which officials say is the last one, included hundreds of mentions of President Trump, most of them in newspaper articles. Trump and Epstein were friends in the 1990s. When Epstein was arrested in 2019, Trump said they'd had a falling out and hadn't spoken in 15 years.
They've released 3 million pages. It's like this is all they're supposed to be doing. And frankly, the DOJ, I think, should just say, we have other things to do.
Trump has denied any wrongdoing. The Justice Department has said they found no reason to charge anyone else with crimes. But tonight, a who's who of rich and powerful men forced to explain why they apparently maintained communication with Epstein after he was convicted of sex crimes.
Like a lot of them.
From Elon Musk to Giants co-owner Steve Tisch to Trump's current Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick to Britain's former Prince Andrew, who was pictured in these photos leaning over a young woman lying on the floor. All the men say they have done nothing
Prince
wrong
Andy.
and insist they knew nothing about Epstein's crimes. But tonight, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer saying Andrew, who was stripped of his royal titles because of his entanglements with Epstein, should testify before Congress, saying
why not?
Epstein victims have to be the first priority. Tonight, DOJ says it has taken down thousands of pages of documents that may have included names and pictures of victims. A judge has scheduled a conference hearing for Wednesday to discuss whether more can and should be done. David, the victims say this is all causing them even more pain.
Shit, man. Well, listen, that's not what we're looking for here, but what we're looking for is transparency. And I understand, censor the women, do whatever you need to do. Keep the men and the people that were committing the crimes uncensored. I don't understand I understand that they're not asking for that, but I'm saying that in general, you should keep as much up as you possibly can. I understand if there's straight CP, yes, censor it. No one's asking for you to keep that. Although if there is a photo of Bill Gates or somebody engaging in CP, maybe just make the whole photo a black image and then just keep his little face the only visible square of light. You know what I mean? Is that the smart thing to do here? I would say so. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to review a couple of the facts that we know about this case in particular. This is just like a brief listing of a few of the things that we've seen that have been confirmed in the documents, or at least like that have been alleged, that have been put forward by victims and whatnot. And you can choose whether or not you want to take the victim's testimony into account as to whether or not you want to believe it. I'm not going to tell you what to believe. That's not what this show is about. Victim's diary, for example, said that she was impregnated multiple times and forced to give birth for Epstein. You know, God knows only what the child then had done to it. You know what I mean? Example here with the rich and powerful men, we have Roger Schenck. He's a Jewish American academic. He's a hedge fund worker as well. He is caught in one of these emails saying Jews create vast fortunes by manipulating the markets, creating financial speculation, and exploiting labor. He also says, let the Goyim deal in the real world. And then in a discussion with the famous Rothschild family, Epstein says, if they overthrew the Ukrainian government, great opportunities would show themselves. I doubt that Epstein toppled the Ukrainian government. It doesn't seem like it happened yet. The Rothschilds then paid the Epstein establishment $25 million, according to these, for certain algorithms. According to interaction with a well-known individual, Peggy Seigel, August 7th of 2010, she asked Epstein, is the event going to be 100% a Jewish night? Or I'll use her words, a Jew night. And he says no, quote, this is Jeff responding, they'll have Goyim in abundance, JP Morgan execs, brilliant wasps. I love that he gives the brilliant white Anglo-Saxon, Protestants a good shout out. In case you didn't know who Joshua Finkelstein is, he is BlackRock's Larry Finkelstein's son. He's accused of not having any respect for non-Jews. He sees them apparently as subhuman. Epstein says in 2017, if you want to hire the best people, you have to hire only Jews. If you don't know this person, Maria Farmer, she was one of the first women to come out publicly against Jeffrey Epstein. She said that his operation was founded in Jewish supremacy as one of their founding tenets. That's curious. You know what I mean? I absolutely believe that white supremacists, Christian nationalists, like Christian supremacist groups exist. I would believe that a Jewish supremacist group exists. Why not? I don't even think it's debatable anymore. I've been up all night and day with these things, and only one conclusion seems imminent. No matter what knowledge level you have on these files, I think we can all agree on one thing. Epstein absolutely ran a sort of blackmailing ring where he likely worked for Israeli or United States intelligence to compromise the top minds of academia, the politics, the celebridomes, sports media, the technology sectors, business, the San Fran tech industry, like I mentioned there, finance and whatnot. His job, I would say in many ways, is to keep these fellas on the same page with, in the words of the famous G-Man from Half-Life, his employers. I think that his employers... Let's make this really easy to understand. Universities and colleges, a lot of the times, they get a lot of great business partnerships, and they often get it through recruiting companies and the like. They funnel their debt-ridden graduates onto these businesses' payrolls through hiring programs. Politicians and whatnot, they proceed not to tax or regulate these businesses while those businesses and operators fund their political campaigns. Politicians and businesses then go on to advertise in the media. The media then goes on to cheer on wars, be it in Ukraine, in Iraq, whatever it is that's savvy that they need you to support at the time. And then the same media then distracts you with the sports and meaningless infighting that they promulgate, because they all ultimately belong to the same club. We as the American people, and to an extent the world, have been run by a shadow government essentially since the early 1960s, and to some extent since 1948, or even further if you want to go, the establishing of the World Zionist Organization that was founded in 1897 by Theodor Herzl during the first Zionist Congress in Basel, however you pronounce it, Switzerland. There's no arguing it, folks. A global cabal of some people who engage in pedophilia for whatever reasons. Maybe they're really like a person at the party who takes a piece of salami off the charcuterie board because they're like, oh yeah, I enjoy salami. You know what I mean? But maybe some of them, they go, oh, I've never tried salami before, but I can't be in this club unless I eat some of the salami. And then that's how they get you. They get a picture of you eating the salami, and everybody knows that you're a filthy salami eater. You eat the gabagool. That's what everybody knows. They pull the strings across all the levers of our society to some extent. This is how rich people have operated for all society in all time. This is really no revolution. This is nothing major. This is honestly, as long as you have people in power, as long as you have faculties for money and capital, which I'm not against. I'm actually I support the idea of capitalism. I support the idea of businesses. I'm not against all of these major institutions, even though they can be weaponized against the masses. I'm sorry. I can't be brought that far. Maybe I'm too good of a goy for that. Sex crimes in general, I wouldn't say that they're the most of it. That's kind of the tip of the iceberg for people that are getting involved in this for the first time. Every person there was not necessarily there for the unspoiled pussy, in the words of Shane Gillis. They were there to forge connections with Epstein, to get themselves a seat at the world of connections that he essentially buys you. It buys you in many ways, and this is important to mention, immunity from the laws of man. You can do whatever you want from that point. Once you have a seat at the table with him, you're set. You can kill children. You can make your wife disappear. And if you decide, hey, maybe this whole thing is a little screwy, maybe I'll blow the whistle on this. Suddenly you lost your battle with depression that you never had, or you get into a car accident because you drive a car newer than 2014 that computers in Langley can pull into a tree on your way to work. Hey, let's just be honest about this, people. Poor what's her name, Melinda French Gates is having to respond to this. The crimes of her former husband. They are not even married anymore, but people are still asking her about it. Admittedly, because she probably knew about it, but she was proper in it in her interview, in her response. I'll give you a clip of it.
Acknowledge the elephant in the room
at this point. I love she says elephant in the room.
Moment, your ex-husband, Bill, is named in the newest tranche of Epstein files. And there are new alleged details about his past behavior, and I want to give you the opportunity to respond in whatever way you want to.
Windows is a beautiful company.
Let me say this. I think we're having a reckoning as a society, right?
Yeah, right. Why do you only show your bottom teeth when you talk?
No girl should ever be put in the situation that they were put in by Epstein and whatever was going on with all of the various people around him.
Melinda.
No girl. I mean, it's beyond heartbreaking, right?
Melinda.
I remember being those ages, those girls were. I remember my daughters being those ages, right? So, for me, it's personally hard whenever those details come up, right? Because,
Melinda, don't tell me that you didn't see the kid on the cutting board, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna link this TikTok in particular in the description. I think it's important that people review this photo because it's a curious. Listen, I saw this and I was immediately alarmed because it's what appears to be. And I'm gonna warn you guys. It's graphic. I'm gonna describe it, and it's not fun. There appears to be a cutting board on which there are two raw chickens that are on either side of what appears to be, I can't tell. It appears to be either a fake, like, movie prop or like something. Like, it looks like a movie prop, but it looks really realistic, of a nude child in this sort of like chicken wrap, like, what's it called? It looks like there's like chicken skin around the child at a certain point, and its legs are just outward. If I warn you, it's graphic. It's not. You don't want to visibly see it. They censor parts of it, but you can clearly see the part where they don't censor the face. It's like that looks like a young face, and it's small enough to fit on a cutting board. And then you look into this and you go, what on earth? And then this person, I think, explains it very well. If you want to take a look at it yourself, I warn you, it is incredibly graphic, but this is stuff we need to talk about. Just in general, it's important. It's going to be linked in the description. Let's begin. Go.
Human meat directly next to turkeys on a cutting board. So you can actually download and scroll through all these photos yourself, like I've been doing for the past few days. But at one point recently, I started to see people talking about this image. It is in file EFT A01646032. And you just have to scroll down until you find this. Now, this is a more full version of the photo that's unredacted, and as you can see, it appears to be a naked human or possibly a child with its legs up in the air, its face turned to the side, and it appears to be dead, almost as if it is going to be cannibalized next. So clearly, seeing this photo amidst other photos from Epstein's estate, like photos depicting CSAM and perpetrators, that's incredibly disturbing, right? Well, as you
CSAM, in case you don't know, you're not familiar with TikTok talk, it is, CSAM refers to child sexual assault material.
You can see this image is attributed to someone named Harold Seward. And as it turns out, Harold is a kind of macabre artist who has created all sorts of pieces of art that really push the boundaries. And he has been working in those spaces for years, for decades now, creating really strange art that is, to some extremely tasteless. And yes, I know a lot of people have been thinking that that photo might show a form of cannibalism or something like that occurring in the Epstein circle. But
it's not the only
really
mention of cannibalism.
A piece of art created by Harold, at least to our knowledge. But to me, regardless, that begs an even bigger question. Why is this art sandwiched amongst CSAM? Why is this photograph, this extremely creepy photograph showing what looks to be the dead body of a child that is completely nude on a cutting board, why is that image in the Epstein files at all? If you actually scroll through this section of the files, you will see it's nude pictures of victims with perpetrators, lots of sexual photos, and then this is just randomly in there. So, did Epstein have this image in his files because he was participating in something like this?
Let's get honest about what the rest of the Epstein files show, because there are mentions, according to victims' testimonies, their own testimonies, that babies, according to them, were killed and eaten.
Blank also described several infants being killed and their intestines removed, as well as other acts of cannibalism. Blank also stated that former United States President George H.W. Bush was engaged in a sex act with an unknown male black, and so much more. So this could be one of the most disturbing new drops from the Epstein...
Because he had sex with a black? I don't think that's that bad. I mean, wait a minute. Did they mean that the male black was underage? Because in that case, if they were just saying that he was having sex with a gay guy, like if it was like some other 50-year-old, because I assume that this was HW right around the time that he threw up on the Japanese president, you know what I mean? Like when he was in his administration. So I thought that he was just having sex with a gay black guy, but but if they were talking about a minor black boy, no, that's not chill. Like, Jesus Christ, why do they... specify so my jokes make sense and aren't creepy.
This is essentially a tip that was turned into the FBI, I believe, in 2019, August 2019. Basically, this is like the rundown of an interview with an alleged victim of Epstein's who wanted to come forward with what happened to them. And this story is incredibly disturbing. Blank stated that he first met Epstein at approximately age 4 while at the blank East Greenwich, Rhode Island. Then he said his family members of the blank stated at the time he was raped, sodomized by his great uncle, and that Epstein was there but didn't touch him. He goes on to say that Epstein spoke to him after he was raped by his great uncle, but he didn't know who Epstein was until way later in 2016. But he continues. Blank further stated in sum and substance that while on a large luxury ship that sailed out of the Newport Beach show in Newport, Rhode Island, September blank at approximately 8 years of age, he, blank, was subjected to some type of medical exam on the yacht by unknown doctor while his great uncle and family members were present. Blank went on to describe a bizarre event in which blank inserted a tape measure in his rectum. Blank stated subsequent to the exam he was then raped, sodomized by Epstein, as well as former United States President Bill J. Clinton, while in a heavy drug-induced state. Blank also stated that the bottoms of his feet and back were...
So, ladies and gentlemen, it's not just girls. Now, according to some of these victims, according to some victim testimonies... This was a gentleman that was not a gentleman. This was a young boy that was being assaulted. I know a lot of people were saying that, like, oh, Epstein only targeted women. According to new releases, according to new information that we're getting, it was not just young girls. It was young boys as well. This is, brand new information. This is new. It's like a lot of the times people would go, it's not canon to the Jeffrey Epstein lore that he's attracted to boys. According to this, he might be now. I didn't know.
Slashed. Black further stated also during the said yacht trip, multiple unknown male blacks or black people were engaged in sex acts with unknown female whites who had their backs slashed and were bleeding. Blank also described several infants being killed and their intestines removed, as well as other acts of cannibalism. Blank also stated that former U.S. President George H.W. Bush was engaged in a sex act with an unknown male black. Former United States Secretary of State Henry Kissinger and businessman George Soros were present on the same yacht while all of the aforementioned acts of violence were occurring. Blank was then asked if he had any injuries or scars as evidence, to which Blank responded, "On my anus." The victim then provided a handwritten list of his family and extended family members and suggested they talk to them. He also stated that his great-uncle is in possession of video evidence of his crimes against Blank, as well as several snuff films that Blank had watched in the presence of his great-uncle. So in this one tip alone, we've got multiple former U.S. presidents named, multiple high-profile government figures, allegations of a yacht party, which I don't find to be unrealistic, more allegations of medical experiments done on victims, which Epstein was obviously fond of.
He was obviously fond of that. In case anybody doesn't know, look up the breeding farm that he had planned. I believe it was in his Arizona or New Mexico compound. It was like this place where he planned to like have 20 women pregnant at a time. He planned to like inseminate the human race with his genes and whatnot. It was pretty, like, you know, he had an operation planned. It was legit.
Murder, snuff films. And this isn't the first time we've heard these allegations in relation to Epstein. However, we're seeing more and more of them now, and I think people are starting to wake up to the fact that this might not be a joke anymore. Blank also described several...
Hey, don't repeat yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, his bank account's name was Baal. Can we just address that? The ancient Canaanite deity people sacrificed their children to for fertility and harvests and agriculture, all that shit, and rain. People would kill their children for rain. Listen, is it that crazy to believe that someone like Gabriela Rico Jimenez, the 21-year-old that apparently escaped one of Epstein's parties, screaming they were eating people? Listen, I'll link this one also in the description. It'll be under the title I just gave it, and I'll play it. I'll play just a clip for you right here. This is, for context, a model, you know, she was one of these people that frequented around the area, but she attends one of Epstein's parties, and then she sees some behavior that disturbs her. And I will narrate exactly what she's saying to you, but if you would like to see it for yourself, go in the description and take a look at this terrified person for yourself. Let's play it. Disgusting, they ate humans. I wasn't aware of anything. I mean, about the murders, yes. But that they had eaten humans. Humans. Fascinating, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look at it for yourself. These things are real. The crazy uncle does not seem like the crazy uncle anymore. He sounds like, honestly, the most trustworthy person in the room at this point. He sounds more trustworthy than anybody else. He sounds more trustworthy than the new Fed, in case you weren't made aware of this, actually. The new chair of the Fed, I want to let you know about this, Kevin Warsh. He was named in the Epstein leaks. He went to the island and did all that other shindig. His father-in-law just so happens to be Ronald Lauder. You don't know who Ronald Lauder is? You don't know who that is? Well, he just so happens to be the president of the World Jewish Congress. Isn't that weird? Isn't that just like a little something that you might want to look into?
Kevin Warsh, the new head of the Federal Reserve, was named in the Epstein leaks. He genuinely went to Epstein's island and was named at Section 21. Kevin Warsh's father-in-law is Ronald Lauder, the president of the World Jewish Congress. Ronald Lauder and Benjamin Netanyahu have known each other since the 1980s, and Lauder is why Netanyahu became prime minister. He was a key American conduit for Netanyahu during his political rise and was instrumental in his first prime ministerial win in 1996.
All politicians must lead in this effort. Words are not enough. Political speeches are not enough. Laws must be passed. Severe, tough, real laws that will put these hate mongers away in prison for a long time.
President Trump says, I have known Kevin for a long period of time. He'll never let you down.
I'm sure he won't, ladies and gentlemen. He's one to be nervous about. I mean, just connect. Like, is it even anti-Semitic to just say, "Hey, isn't it weird that your father-in-law?" It just so happens. I mean, I know you're the chair of the Fed, but it just so happens that he belongs to the the World Jewish Congress. Is that not curious? Like, in any way, shape, or form? I mean, I think it's bizarre. It's bizarre also that the Epstein files just so happen to mention Mamdani's mama.
Mamdani's mother was also named in the Epstein files on Friday, and because of that, claims are now going wild on X, suggesting that Epstein is Mamdani's biological father.
I believe it. I see the resemblance. I'm signing off on this right now. I think Zora Mamdani is actually Epstein's child.
Yeah, now, despite how ridiculous that is, considering when the email was sent in 2009, Mamdani would have been 18 years old, that hasn't stopped posts on X from going viral. In fact, one of them suggesting this has got nearly 15 million views. Now, the reference to Mamdani's mom, Myra Nair, in question is from an email sent to Epstein talking about an after-party for a film which had intent.
Listen, you can attend somebody's after party after 18 years of knowing them. Okay, that's a non sequitur.
These like Bill Clinton, Jeff Bezos, and the director of the film, Mamdani's mom. Yeah, Myra actually directed the 2009 biopic, Amelia, so I imagine it would make sense that the director goes to the after party. And in fact, from these emails, it's not even clear if Epstein himself ever went to the party in the first place. So yeah, wild day for information. These are the names that we still got to go through.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think that it's still important to note. It's still important to note. CNN wanted to give us a very helpful tool in order to if you want to search through these files yourself, it's going to be the final thing that we review for these. Because honestly, it's saddening to know that H.W. Bush did the Tommy Boy scene with the scene where he's like, my naughty pet, I love you or whatever, and then he rips it apart. He's like, "Rah!" That's what George H.W. Bush did with a baby. As a matter of fact, I think here, we have it right here.
The pet is my possible sale.
There it is.
Oh, my pretty little pet.
Oh, my pretty little pet.
Love you. So I stroke it.
There's Clinton. He's like rolling his eyes.
Massage it.
There's Soros. He's also like, where's this going?
Naughty pet, you're naughty.
And then H.W. is like,
take my naughty pet and I go. Oh, I killed it! I killed my sale!
That's when they knew. That's not when you blew it. That's when they knew that they needed William J. Clinton to be the next president. That's when they knew. It's when you showed weakness when you killed that baby. They needed someone who could kill a child and still have a nice, smooth, is it Arkansas? Yeah, Arkansas draw. CNN, give our viewers a couple helpful tips in order to navigate the files themselves.
Are you trying to search the Epstein files? I'm part of the team at CNN that went through these documents, and here are 3 shortcuts that we used to get through the 3 million files on the Justice Department website. FD 302.
CNN is going to be like, just delete it, and don't look at it.
Typing in that phrase pulls up records of FBI interviews with witnesses from the Epstein investigation. The search term is FD 302 because that's the name of the form that the FBI uses to keep track of these interviews. And a lot of the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse have said that they were looking forward to these documents coming out. Some of these witness interviews were later corroborated, like this 302 that appears to be from Virginia Giuffre, who worked at Mar-a-Lago, was then recruited from there to work.
Wait a minute. I didn't mean to do that. Shit. I went down a video. Anyways, Virginia Giuffre, Virginia whatever, Giuffre. I've heard so many people mispronouncing this girl's name. I want to set the record straight, ladies and gentlemen. It is Virginia Giuffre, often pronounced with a D. That's how I've heard it pronounced many times in 60 Minutes. But if you pronounce it Giuffre, I guess if you really want to try the G, but I'm not gonna personally. I'm not going to be anal about how people want to pronounce her name. She's dead. She's not here to correct any of us. But Virginia Giuffre, I actually think Giuffre, as in like Jew, That might be the most correct way. I think it's one that everybody can agree on. Virginia Giuffre, because it's Giuffre. Virginia Giuffre is how we're going to refer to her from here on out, so that the Dufresnes and the Gouffres have nothing on this show. They can't be mad at me because I'm not saying either of the options.
Giuffre, who worked at Mar-a-Lago, was then recruited from there to work for Jeffrey Epstein, and later said she was abused by Epstein. But some of the other 302s are totally unverified and outlandish, like this one that mentioned several U.S. presidents and cannibalism.
It's not verified, it's not unverified and outlandish, ladies and gentlemen. They don't have any, solid evidence about it, but the victims' testimonies. Are you just not believing it because it's a boy?
JEEvacation@gmail.com. That's one of Jeffrey Epstein's personal email addresses, and if you
That's a sick email, by the way. JEEvacation.
type that into the search bar, you will find thousands of messages that he sent and received from that account.
Nice.
There are messages like this one from 2011, where Epstein and his longtime accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell strategized ways to discredit Giuffre after she went public with some of her allegations. WJC. WJC stands for William Jefferson Clinton. That's how a lot of people that work for the former president refer to him in writing. By typing in WJC, it uncovers extensive communications between Epstein and members of Clinton's team. Now, Clinton has spent time with Epstein and Maxwell over the years, but he's never been accused by law enforcement of any wrongdoing whatsoever, and he says that he cut ties with Epstein before Epstein's first arrest in 2006.
Well, I mean, good for him. At least he had the decency to do that, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we should give him credit for? I think so. Folks, we're going to continue to pour over these, probably next episode, the next few episodes. There's a lot of details and clips that I will provide you. There's a lot of things. And if you have clips that you would like to provide into the show, please provide them in the description. We'd love to go ahead and show off anything else that the viewers might have discovered that I haven't. Because quite frankly, I need to expand my media bubble. I always need to. I'm always looking to. Folks,